So it is time, folks. We are already looking forward to MLB The Show 17. I'm personally still playing tons of 16. I'm going to all winter, but it's December 3rd. A trailer just dropped for 17. We learned some cool new things. We saw some players flashed in there. Looks like we got some Yankee Stadium, old Yankee Stadium, I should say. We got some StatCast, and of course, our boy Ken Griffey Jr. was featured prominently. And so what I'm actually going to do today is actually look at 3 different versions, because I think that this is going to end up, he's going to end up being like A-Rod. There's going to be several cards that are going to be available. You know, the pre-orders come with one of them. Obviously, there's going to be some sort of prime. So I'm going to look at, these are my guesses for 3 different cards. A rookie from 1989, a prime, which I'm isolating 1 year, 1997, and then a Cincinnati version. And if you want to rank them, I think that the stair step would be rookie, Cincinnati, prime, of course. And maybe you have to build your way up to them. I don't know how they're going to do it, but let's just dive in. Let's look at the rookie here. I've already got the numbers on this one, so I'll kind of go over it, and then we'll do the other 2 together here. And so looking at his rookie year, a little underwhelming against righties, or excuse me, against lefties, I'm sure. Some of you are like, wait, what? Ken Griffey Jr. ever had a flaw? Well, you know, he was like 5 years old when he was a rookie, and so he didn't quite hit lefties all that well, and so there's going to be a deficiency there. And that actually makes sense, right? You know, they can't, I mean, they can, but they probably shouldn't give us a diamond Ken Griffey Jr. right off the bat. Then what are we really working for? What I wouldn't mind seeing is that if this rookie was attached to a mission to get a prime, or even to get a Cincinnati, and then a Cincinnati was attached to a prime, if there was some work that we could do there, I would be okay with that. I would want it to be a difficult mission so that not everybody has prime Griffey on, you know, April 15th. And I would want it to be something that you can't grind away for, that you have to do in online Diamond Dynasty head-to-head games, something like that, so that you can't just kind of grind your way. Hey, all respect to those who wasted their lives grinding for players. You know, that's great. I simply didn't have the time. It is a little cheesy, but it was within the boundaries. I hope that it's taken out next year, and I think I hope we start right off the gate, or right out of the gate, I should say, with getting a Griffey rookie that we can evolve into better cards and have to do it in game. So let's take a look at these numbers. Let's start with the bad here. Against lefties, he had a 610 OPS, a 127 ISO, which is slug minus average, gives you kind of an idea of his extra base power, which 127 is bad. It's very bad. And a 212 average, a 24% strikeout rate, and a 7% walk rate. So that's where I came up with the 40 and 50 here. Now, this is kind of isolated from what we're talking about here, but I would almost like to see plate vision and plate discipline separated into versus right and versus left as well, because 24% strikeout versus lefties and 7% walk rate versus lefties, that's a heck of a lot different than the 14% and 9% strikeout and walk rates against righties. And, you know, it's hard to bake those in and to kind of know where to land. So, I don't know, maybe that's something that they could do. But right now, I've kind of got them right here at 69 and 70 based on being very good against righties and very bad against lefties. Speaking of righties, that's where he did his work. He had a 796 OPS, a 166 ISO, a 282 average, and then again 14% K, which is excellent, 9% walk, which is really solid. So that's how we got to 82 and 88. So the pop was there. I might even be overselling the pop a little bit. I could see them gassing it just a little to give us something to work with, especially like let's say they want to come out and they say, we'll give you guys the rookie and it can evolve into a prime and you got to hit 50 homers. Well, 50 homers is no joke, especially if you can't cheese it and you actually have to hit 50 balls out of the park in head-to-head games. Well, they want to give us something to work with. So if they put him at like a 68 to 74 area, that could be kind of tough. So 88, juice it up a little bit. His power was obvious, and he was a 19-year-old getting it done. So I'm also kind of giving him some credit for being a young guy and putting up the numbers that he did. And I gassed up the versus righties numbers just a little bit. I think if you were to just go no credit for being a 19-year-old rookie, he's probably closer to, I don't know, I'd say like 77 contact and again, like 75 power, but I juiced him a little. Maybe the power I'm underselling. Maybe it would be 75, 80. Instead, I went 82, 88. So we'll see. I think that's right about where they should be. With the clutch, that's your runners in scoring position. He had a 746 OPS, which isn't great, but we'll give him a little bit. We'll give him a little bit above average there. Durability, well, we know that in the future he became less durable for the way that he played, but obviously as a rookie, we didn't know. We thought he was going to be a bona fide superstar who was going to play 155 games every single year, and he was looking like somebody who was going to stay healthy. Actually, I don't know if there was any injuries in his rookie year, but either way, I give him a decent durability grade here. Speed at 70. He had a 70% success rate on the bases with a 16 stolen bases. So let's see. I put the 68 stealing and 65 base running aggressiveness. What I often look at is extra base taken rate when I'm looking at the aggressiveness as well. And his extra base taken rates were pretty good. That's how often you go first to third, second to home, first to home, I guess, on certain hits as well. And his was pretty good. So, decent speed here. Something that you can work with. Never going to be clogging up the bases, but obviously not a speed asset right out of the gate. And we want that speed to be at a certain level because it showed really in the outfield. So if I'm being honest now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I might even have undersold the raw speed a little bit just because maybe they pump it to 75 to reflect the defense, because the defense, of course, is one of his calling cards. And I definitely gave him love here with a 83 fielding ability, 95 arm strength, and 70 arm accuracy. Let me give you some numbers as to why I did that. First off, he only played 127 games, and yet he was still fourth in center field assists with 11. Now, he was first in center field errors with 10. Infield errors, I'm less inclined to kill guys for overall, because a lot of times errors are not a great measure of defense, because if you have great range, you're going to get to more plays than other guys, and you might make more errors because of it. But other guys would have never even gotten there. So you almost get a little bit of credit for even making the play, even though it was an errored play, as opposed to a slug infielder who never even gets to the ball, and maybe that ball gets to the outfield and turns into an extra base hit or something like that. So in the outfield, it is a little bit different, though. 10 errors, that's not good. Part of it is still that same principle does apply. His range probably helped him get there to more balls than other center fielders would, but 10 errors leading center fielders in only 127 games, that has to be reflected, and that's why I went a little bit low on the fielding ability at 83. And there were probably some throwing errors. That's why I figured that his arm accuracy was probably a little bit off as well. So we'll have the great arm strength. The accuracy just might be a little bit off. So put all that together, and we're looking at an 86, I believe. Yes, an 86 Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. Which, okay, so we're going to get a gold. Again, these are my guesses. I'm not saying we're definitely going to, but if this is what it was, we would get a gold Griffey. We could put in our lineup on day one. That's pretty good. You insert him in against righties. He bats, 2 through 4 somewhere right off the bat, and against lefties, let's say if there is a mission that we have to do to maybe evolve the card, then I would probably still play him against lefties, but I would probably bat him 7th or 8th. So your mileage may vary on that one, but again, you got the great defense kind of offsetting it, and if you're already a good hitter, maybe you can make the 40-50 contact power versus righties work a little bit and at least accumulate some hits, maybe get lucky on a few homers. Now we're just going to edit this same exact guy. We're not going to change the age and everything. I'm not really concerned on that. I'm not going to go over to the Reds and create a new one. In fact, I'm using this. This is from a downloaded roster of Legends, and it looks somewhat like Griffey, so that's why I went ahead and picked it. Let's do the Cincinnati one first, and then we'll go to the Prime. We'll kind of build up here. Now, the way they did these cards this year, in terms of if there was a Cincinnati Ken Griffey Jr., it would be all of his Cincinnati season. And I think that they might be better served to do individual years next season with it, even with the Legends. Now, obviously, we had that with flashbacks, but that's current players. The Legends were their entire time with the team that they were from. I hope they go away from that, but we'll see. I'm going to operate as though they will. and I'm using the 2000 Cincinnati season when he actually hit 40 home runs. I think some think that his career just completely fell off with Cincinnati. He's had some pretty solid years there too. So don't sleep on Ken Griffey Jr. as a Red. There were some years. That's when the injuries really started to ravage him though, and so there weren't nearly the amount of high quality seasons with the Reds. But that was his first one. He played 145 games, 631 plate appearances, 40 homers, 118 ribbies, 271 average. So still pretty good. But let's get into the specifics here, and we'll start versus lefties again because that's the lower end of it, but actually still pretty good, especially compared to this rookie. He was a contact. I'm going to put him at 70, and his power is going to be 86. So that's very usable, and if you can hit lefty, you're gonna get some really good run out of that. He had an 845 OPS, a 250 ISO, 263 average, 22% strikeout rate, and 10% walk rate versus lefties. Those are excellent numbers. Plus, you get a little bit of a bonus, and I mentioned this in my prediction videos during the season. Lefty is the most difficult aspect of the game. The most difficult matchup. Righty-righty is probably like righty-lefty, lefty-righty, righty-righty, and then lefty-lefty. I might have the first two messed up. Maybe lefties do better against righties. I don't know. But it's obviously opposite-handed, and then righty-righty, they see so many righties growing up, they know how to hit them. Lefty-lefty, you don't see as many growing up, and you really start to see them in pro ball when you're facing the best pitchers, and that's why it's so tough. So 854 OPS might not jump out to you like amazing, but when you consider it's lefty-lefty, that's impressive. Same with the 250 ISO. Now against right-handers, he was also really good. I'm going to give him a 75 contact, and then the power jumps up to 95. He savaged righties with Cincinnati there. He had a 977 OPS, 299 ISO. That's devastating. 274 average, 17% strikeout rate, which is good, and 17% walk rate, which is actually amazing. By the way, with the bunting, I'm just leaving it 30-30. I have no idea. Hopefully they alter bunting, by the way. That should be a big focus for them in 2017. But for rating standpoint, unless we're dealing, I might make some more videos for guys that for guessing at legends, and maybe I'll alter some of them if we're talking about players that actually bunted for a living, but he did not, so I don't really care. So I'm leaving it there. Now for the vision and discipline, I had his vision at 74, and that's his strikeouts. And then his discipline at 85, that's his walk rate. And so he had a really good, I mentioned, and I don't have the totals here, I just, my notes that I took, I have just the individuals. So again, 17% strikeout versus righties, that's awesome. 22% against lefties, that's pretty darn good. And then 17% walks against righties is amazing. 10% against lefties is still pretty solid. So that might even be worth a few more points, to be honest. I got it at 85 right now, but we'll leave it there for now. Let's move on to the clutch. He had a 922 OPS with runners in scoring position, so I went ahead and gave him an 85 clutch. Durability, got to bring it down. Obviously, a lot of the injuries started creeping up with Cincinnati, so again, we don't know that he's going to be very challenged durability-wise with Cincinnati once in 2000. But he did have some injuries with Seattle too, and they came from his aggressive play. So I went ahead and moved the durability down just to we'll put it at 74. I actually had 70 put down, but again, it probably evolves into like a 60 or something in the 50s, but we'll leave it at 74 right now. I don't know how much that affects the bottom line anyway. Let's move over to his fielding. I have his arm strength down just a little, 92. But his arm accuracy is up to 86. His reaction was still strong at 84. And so we're looking at a guy who was 4th in center field assists with 10. He was 8th in center field errors with 5. We don't have all the advanced stats of like range and all that. Eye test tells you he was elite. So I gave him elite numbers. These are great numbers. Speed-wise, we're talking about 76 still with his speed. His steal goes down to 50. He was just 6 for 10 that year. Like, that was just not a huge part of his game anymore, and I moved the aggressiveness down to 60. So that's what we're looking at now for this 2000 Cincinnati version. I know he's wearing the Mariners jersey, but this is based on his Cincinnati 2000. Because I do think we will get a Cincinnati version. I think we'll get rookie, prime, and Cincinnati. And we'll do the prime here in a minute. Let's see what this Cincinnati version ends up at. That ends up as a 97. And I'm doing this on the fly. I didn't do this ahead of time. That might be a little bit high. I can see him being a diamond. I mean, 942 OPS for his bottom line. He hit 40 homers with 118 ribbies. He was still really good. And the fact that his defense was still good, maybe he would be a 97. I might have gone a little bit high on it, though. I think he's probably closer to a 93, 94. But, hey, that's part of making these with y'all in the midst of the video. Which obviously means, by the way, spoiler alert, his prime is definitely going to be a 99, right? There's just no chance, because I'll tell you right now that the numbers for his prime are better. So let's just go ahead and dive into his prime. And we'll start again at lefties. I put the contact down to, let's see here, 70. Well, I might have messed that up. I might have messed up the Cincinnati one a little bit. I think I had his contact a little bit lower. Anyway, doesn't matter. Talking about prime now. I'm using the 1997 season. And I'm looking at his contact versus lefties at 74. His power versus lefties at 92. Ridiculous. And then his righty numbers are utterly obscene, 95, 99. Let me give you some numbers. Against lefties, 868 OPS, 266 ISO, 270 average, 24% strikeout rate, 6% walk rate. Strong. Absolutely so strong. You ready to vomit at how amazing these are? Here's his numbers versus righties. 1104 OPS, 379 ISO. Can we make his power versus righties a 110? Because 99 seems inadequate. 320, 18% walk rate. Oh my God. That's just ridiculous. I'm thinking now, 320 average, 14% strikeout rate. Why did I only do 95? Maybe he's just flat 99, 99. I'm going to do it. We're altering it on the fly. 99, 99. Let's do it. He had a 1091 OPS with runners in scoring position, so I bumped his clutch up to 99, and that will certainly help. And then, okay, he was second in assists with 9 among center fielders. He was third in errors, but again, I think the fact that he had errors relates similarly to what I think about infielders, where when your range is so good, you get to balls that other guys wouldn't. So if he runs one down, you know, if we had StatCast on him, it would have been amazing. If he goes, you know, 140 feet or whatever to run something down, actually, I don't know how many feet is like good, because I don't know all the StatCast numbers off the top of my head. But if he runs one down like some crazy distance and it bounces off his glove, he gets an error, whereas 94% of center fielders would have never even gotten there. So I'm crediting him, and I'm still keeping him really high. His fielding numbers are insane. I put 95 for the fielding, 95 for the arm strength, 90 for the accuracy, and 92 for the react. So that's, I mean, that's just dumb. That's just dumb how good that is. I got his speed up to 85. His stealing is up to 82. I'll get you some numbers on that in a minute. He had a 79% success rate. It was only 15 stolen bases, and that I'm always torn, like, are they going to keep it low because he only had 15 stolen bases, or are they going to bump it up because he was so successful? 79% success rate is amazing. Like, that's really, really good. Anything over 75 is high quality, especially once you start getting into the double digits of attempts. So I put it at 82. And then what haven't I done yet? Oh, his aggressiveness, 85. He took a lot of extra bases. He had a really good extra base taken rate that year. I didn't write it down, but it was good. It was the best of the three for sure. Of course, because he was in his prime. He was amazing. His durability, I actually didn't write down his durability, but so after 97, he'd had the 2 injuries. In 94, well, no, 94 probably ended early. He probably got hurt. When did he break his wrist? I think it was 95. His durability by 1997, again, was good. Like, we did not know that he was going to fall off. So we'll just put it at 85 right now.
I think that'll be worthwhile. It doesn't matter. This is going to be a 99 card. You can quibble with some of these other smaller statistics. It does not matter. This is going to be a 99. Let's see it. 99, obviously. Like that's a prime Griffey right there. And if that's something that we can work to with a rookie Griffey, I want it to be hard. Maybe not 100 homers. That's originally what I was thinking. That's too many because I don't think there's anybody I have even 100 homers with yet. But if it's 50 homers, I think that's fair. I think it should be difficult to achieve, and you should have to achieve it legitimately in Diamond Dynasty. Even Conquest I'd be okay with. I know you can play rookie games on Conquest, but you can't cheese it. Like, you can't have your friends set up and just let you run around the bases all day and get homers. So even Conquest and, of course, BR, those two things, that would all be fair. But that's what a prime looks like to me, and it's devastating. So, again, it was 86 for the rookie, it was 97 for the Cincinnati, and 99 here. I think I went a little bit high on the Cincinnati. I might back that off a little bit. I might re-alter that, or not re-alter, alter that and kind of come back to the drawing board to get it closer to 93 to 94 range. But either way, it's still going to be a good card. I think the point of it is that it's still going to be a really good card. And since I am kind of using the A-Rod comp, A-Rod has multiple diamonds. There's no reason that Griffey can't. So maybe I don't even have to move it down. I was a little bit jarred when I saw 97. I don't associate his best Cincy season as necessarily a 97. More of a mid-90s sort of range. So those are my thoughts on what some Griffey cards could look like if they go ahead and do individual years. But let's get excited, folks. I'm really excited about 17 already, and I'll have some more stuff coming up, including some guesses on what some Roberto Alomar and Jason Giambi cards might look like. We saw both of them in the trailer, so we can feel confident that they're going to be in the game. And again, I went and made some yearly predictions for cards for those guys, but I'll put them in a separate video later, so stay tuned to the channel. Thanks.